I just want people to know, when the feds are lowering the rate, I think the normal average consumer thinks that means when they say rates, that means mortgage rates. But it doesn't. It affects everything. It affects your car loans, your credit cards. It's everything. So I pulled a brief summary. Just hopefully I can explain it soon. They call them the federal fund rates, the interest rates which banks lend money to each other overnight. That's what that is. So when the Fed is getting ready to lower their rates, and I'm not sure if you know, right now, like over a week, like just based on the fact that they're lowering the rates, lenders make a decision for mortgage rates, and they already lower them.
Right. They always, it seems like our mortgage rates are in anticipation of what's to come.
Right.
So it's not necessarily an after the fact thing, right? Like, because, and I get it, because we're guilty of doing the same thing where we're like not encouraging the idea, but it's basically like, hey, the Fed might lower the rate, just because that's a pretty good correlation, right?
Correct.
In the past, typically when the Fed lowers the rate, the mortgage rate is lowered too.
Right.
When the Fed raises the rate, the mortgage rate goes up. Right.
Because
But
because borrowing gets more expensive.
Right. But they're not the same.
They're not the same.
Welcome to another episode of Discover St. Cloud, Florida. I'm Kristen McCary, and I'm here with your host,
Janine Corcoran, broker for Corcoran Connect, a real estate company.
I cannot believe it's September.
I know. I feel like now we're like fast forward to the holidays.
It is. It might as well be New Year's 2026. Like, I can't. It's the end of the year happens so fast now.
Yeah. Summer was slow. I felt like, I'm not talking real estate market, just in general.
Right. Like everything.
Slow moving.
Yeah. It felt like you had more time. Like everything was just, nice and relaxed, I guess.
I remember August went fast, and now I feel like, okay, September, what happened?
Right. And it's like mid-September already.
Right.
Like we're in the burr months, which means it's like, just a blur.
Yeah.
It's a blur from here on out. Like, and I think if you actually think about this, we're now within the window that if you put up your Halloween decorations, you might get a violation from your HOA, but they give you 2 weeks to fix it. So then you're like in compliance. So I can put up
I have seen people putting up Halloween decorations, and oh boy.
Yeah. So now I can, make sure that I get my skeleton up early this year.
Yeah. And so, folks, just so you know, the reason why you're getting your August report is because that month has completed. And yes, we do try to do it the first week of September, but time gets away from us.
Scheduling.
So now you're getting it now. So that's why it always seems like we're a month behind, but we're really not, because that's the only full data we have for the month.
Right.
So let's get started with 34769, which are all your state streets. We had 25 that sold. Of that, 21 were single stories at $235.39 price per square foot. And we had 4 two-stories at $182.09.
And your month-over-month averages are down about 4.83%. So if you compare prices that sold in July of 2025, they were 4.83% higher than they are in August. And year over year, you're down about 6%. And I want to say this is the first time that we've seen any kind of decline in this 34769 area. Your median days to contract is at about 44 days, which again, that's the first time I feel like it's been that high.
A lot of changes this month.
Month and a half now in 34769, and median days to close is 84. Wow. So it takes 2.5 months, or just over 2 months to 2.5 months to get closed on 34769. And with the current active properties, 83 properties on the market, you're looking at about a 3.3 month supply.
Oh, okay.
So,
and in my opinion, it's still a buyer's market. Yeah. No matter what the national news says.
It's so funny because I think we talked about this last time, or maybe we just had a sidebar conversation about it, how the month supply, like the whole thing where it's like 6 months is a healthy supply. Like that was a statistic that was, kind of leaned on back when you had to get like physical printed books.
Yeah, that's true. We talked about that.
Right. Yeah. And so like now with data being so accessible, like I don't know if 6 months is like
maybe they changed to 3 months. Yeah,
right.
They should really look at that.
Right. And I don't even know where that statistic came from. Who knows? Maybe Aunt Barb made it up.
Oh, she definitely agreed with it, but that's a good point that we should say to her, well, it's different now.
Right. Yeah. And I guess to be fair, I guess the market is like, in terms of buyer's market or seller's market, I guess it depends on who has more urgency, right?
Right.
Like, so I don't know if month supply is a good indicator or if, it's really just...
I just know from being in the market, it's a buyer's market.
Yeah.
It's a buyer's market. my opinion.
Yeah.
I could just tell working with sellers, working with buyers, it's a buyer's market.
Yeah.
Buyers have more control, more power.
Right.
Especially because there aren't many buyers out
That's
because of the rate.
That's the thing. Like I'm like, yeah, there's not much supply, but like, are there many buyers?
Right. The buyers, we should have a song like, where have the buyers gone?
Exactly.
But we'll talk about that in the rates soon.
Yep.
But let's go on to 34771. We had a total of 76 properties that sold. Of that, 42 of them were single stories at 237.43 price per square foot, and then we had 34 two stories at 199.01 price per square foot.
So month over month, it's showing an increase of about 7.34%. Again, this does include new construction too when we're talking about like the average price per square foot. So it is showing an increase of 7.34%. Year over year, however, it's down 5.65%. So that's why it's kind of like there might have been a couple of Mac Daddied upgraded houses that closed, new construction that could have been swaying that number. So you're looking currently 35 days to contract in 34771. This is for your resale homes. We don't include new construction data in that, and 75 days to close. So just over a month to get under contract, and 2.5 months to get closed, and then your month supply is currently at 5 months.
Oh, wow!
So,
and folks, don't forget that all of these reports from years, if you're into data and things like that, they're always available on our website, CorcoranConnect.com. You go under communities, St. Cloud, and all the reports are there.
Yep. And so, interesting times. And that again, that month supply number though, that doesn't include every house that's available through new construction either.
Right, because they don't put all their properties on the market. They usually put one or two and then get you in the door, and then they say, but we have all of these properties for sale.
Exactly. So anyway, something to consider in 34771. Moving on to 34772.
Okay, so 34772, we had 45 homes that sold. And of that, 32 of them were single stories at 226.39, and two stories, we had 13 at 205.31.
And so your month over month averages are up about 3.06%. And so, slightly higher than July of 2025. Year over year, you're up about 4%. 4.21%. With the current active homes on the market and compared to what we had sold, your month supply, you're looking at about 5.2 months supply. And your days to contract is 59 days, so about 2 months. Days to close, 107.
Oh, wow.
So, just plan for time, right? Like patience is like the name of the game for sellers.
So then we move on to 34773, of course, which includes Halapaw, Harmony West, all the way down to new, Bay Lake, parts of Bay Lake. I
feel like it's like the right side of Old Melbourne Highway. If you're heading
yes, that
up.
Bay Lake Ranch.
Bay Lake is, whatever, the new one.
Community. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, yeah. And I love that community. But anyway, okay, so we had 23 that sold, and of that, 16 of them were single story at 226.39 price per square foot, and two stories, there were only 7 at 161.30 price per square foot.
So your average price per square foot is down about 1.2% month over month, and 3.5% year over year. So slight decreases in both of those areas. Currently, it's taking 120 days to go under contract for resales. And days to close is 157. And I know you're not surprised by that.
I'm not surprised.
You're like, so basically 6 months, plan for that long of a time period. And it's funny because I actually looked up how many of the total sales, guess how many of the total sales without looking, just guess. Okay. How many were resales, do you think, in all of 34773?
Very few. 1.
4.
4.
Out of 24, right? It was 24?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So only 4 resales.
Yeah, the resales are hurting with the builders, and builders are hurting too. But it's like we're competing.
Right.
We're
and
competing.
It's hard because I get it from a buyer perspective, right? If you have new construction, you've got you don't have to worry about the appliances and stuff for a while. Your insurance is going to be lower. A lot of times the builders come in with these fantastic rates that you can't, it's really hard to compete. So you really have to there are no new constructions except for 55 and over. There's no new construction left in original Harmony,
Maine.
Right. Like the original Harmony. There's no other new construction going on. So and
on that point, when, because we'll get showings on the resale, but again, they're not moving no matter what we seem to do.
Right.
And I will always follow up with all the agents that have shown our house, and I'll say, hey, remember the buyer you bought whenever. It's like, what did they end up doing? And they always say, oh, they went with new build. Oh, they went. I mean, I would say 95% of the time they went with new build. And I'm talking people that really wanted to love the original Harmony.
Yeah.
And they still went with new build.
Right.
And my response to them is, your buyer's not going to be happy. Because
No.
we have a lot of people that move to Harmony West and they don't like it, and they're trying to move here.
Right.
And we know that because we lived here for a long time, that this original Harmony is way different than the Harmonies that surround us.
The whole community aspect, everything about it just has a different lifestyle, really. You know what I mean? And so it's really hard to...
it's hard to sell that.
It is. And unless you experience it. And like you said, especially if you move into one of the new construction communities, you may realize that wow, there is a difference, And so again, maybe we'll see that in a year or two, where they're like, okay, you know what?
Especially
time to
at
sell.
Harmony West, I speak to, I have a particular gentleman, and I'm not going to say his name because we just email a lot, and he's telling me the scoop on a lot of Harmony residents, and they are so upset about the interchange coming through the neighborhood,
Right.
they weren't told and things like that. And thank goodness Lauren didn't, Kristen's sister didn't move in, right?
know.
She was all about Harmony West,
Yeah.
only because she wanted a house at the time, and then luckily something opened up for her in Harmony, Maine. So
Right.
everyone's here.
Right. Yeah. But it is crazy. So anyway, all that to say, not a lot of resales are moving currently in any of the communities, because this is 34773. So it encompasses all of those same areas, and there were only 4 resales total. Wow. So anyway, but do you want to talk about, since we've gone on to a diatribe of Harmony, do you want to just talk more about Harmony and what specifically happened here?
Okay, so this is your Harmony, Maine mini report pulled out of our podcast just for you, since that's where we live. So so in August, there were only 7 properties that sold. Did you hear me? 7. Okay, and so of that, there were 2 new townhouses that sold in Harmony Isle. Those are the on the west entrance of Harmony that you come in. On the left, those new townhouses. I put a person in there too, but there were 2 there that sold. Both came in, of course, the same price per square foot at $183.45. Then we went on to Harmony. This is amazing. Harmony Maine resales. There was 1.
One
And
little.
believe me, I have a lot of Harmony resales listed. It's killing me. It's
Yeah,
killing the owners.
yeah.
We had 1, and it was on Cordgrass. And ready for the price per square foot?
No.
It is not a pool home.
No.
$139 price per square foot. It's a 2-story.
Wow.
That's what that
Was it
seller.
a distress sell?
No,
Okay.
that's what seller had to do to get it sold.
Wow.
And I thought my listing on Feathergrass at 146 something. I had an open house yesterday, was low, but this one sold at 139.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
No.
Have you seen those numbers in forever?
No.
Okay. Then we go into the lakes. Love the lakes people. We have 1 in South Lake, 1 in East Lake, and they came in at 206.11 price per square foot. And then we have 1 custom home, which we sold, 3304 Cap Briar. Missed those folks. They were my neighbors. And that came in at 147.97 price per square foot.
Wow.
So that's it for Harmony, Maine. So that is and for your Harmony, Maine people, go ahead if you want to see the whole podcast and click the link below. In the meanwhile, let's go on to Harmony West. Harmony West had 5 townhomes that sold at $225.30 price per square foot. Harmony West had 12 homes that sold. Of that, there were 9 single stories at $228.69 and 3 2-stories at $197.18. So Harmony West is killing everyone right now. Harmony Central, guess what street? Sagefield. We have 4 that sold. And again, this doesn't include everything the builder has to offer. They were all single stories this time at $228.32 price per square foot. And that's your Harmony report.
Wow. So crazy times out in 34773. And then lastly, we have vacant land, right?
Yep.
Nothing big. 12 vacant land sales this month. Nothing crazy. The highest sold one was 4.05 acres on McMichael Road. Everything pretty much cash except for that one. So there's really nothing, no, large parcels that are like
crazy.
Yeah, that you're like, oh my gosh, what's going in there?
You know what I find interesting? So on McMichael Road, right? What was the acreage on that? That was 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then there was that's 7685 Muse Road, and that was 5 acres, and that was all cash. That was cheap. But again, this is vacant land. I just had a good returning clients. Now I call them my friends. They've been friends for years. So, we do the shuffle, Harmony Shuffle, and they got a great deal. 5 acres with a beautiful house. It does have to be renovated, and that came in at $600,000. I mean, that, and that's out on Gentry Farms.
Right.
That's a nice street, nice area.
It
There's
is.
a lot of construction again going around them, but again, I thought that was a great deal.
Yeah, that is a great deal.
It's a great deal, and that'll be on next month's report because it just closed in September.
Yep. That's crazy. All right. So then, did you have any thoughts that you wanted to add because that basically wraps up all of our reports. Did you have some thoughts you wanted to talk about on where the market's headed, what to expect? What are your...
I just want people to know, when the feds are lowering the rate, I think the normal average consumer thinks that means when they say rates, that means mortgage rates, but it doesn't. It affects everything. It affects your car loans, your credit cards. It's everything. So I pulled a brief summary. Just hopefully I could explain it soon. They call them the federal fund rates, the interest rates which banks lend money to each other overnight. That's what that is. So when the Fed is getting ready to lower their rates, and I'm not sure if you know, right now, like over a week, just based on the fact that they're lowering the rates, lenders make a decision for mortgage rates, and they already lower them.
Right. They always, it seems like our mortgage rates are in anticipation of what's to come.
Right.
So it's not necessarily an after the fact thing, right? Because, and I get it because we're guilty of doing the same thing where we're not encouraging the idea, but it's basically like, hey, the Fed might lower the rate just because that's a pretty good correlation, right?
Correct.
In the past, typically when the Fed lowers the rate, the mortgage rate is lowered too.
Right.
When the Fed raises the rate, the mortgage rate goes up. Right.
Because
but
because borrowing gets more expensive.
Right. But they're not the same.
They're not the same.
It's not the same.
So, and even if you hear 2 basis points, you think, that the interest rate's going, So again, it's correlated, but not. So this was interesting. While mortgage rates don't move in lockstep with the Fed fund rates, they are connected indirectly. Here's how. When the Fed raises rates, borrowing costs for banks increase. Investors shift money, bonds yields often rise, mortgage rates usually go up. And that's how they're connected. When the Fed cuts the rates, cheaper bank borrowing, investors may seek higher returns in bonds, and bond yields fall, mortgage rates usually go down. Think of it as like a domino effect. The Fed policy sets the tone for the short-term lending, which influences the investors' behaviors. And then lastly, so when you hear the Feds raise rates, it doesn't mean mortgage rates jump the next day, but often nudges them higher over time because investors anticipate more inflation fighting and higher borrowing costs in the economy. So hopefully that wasn't over anyone's head. I tried to make it as, layman terms.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, but they are intertwined, but that's the explanation. I hope that helps.
They're like sisters, but they're not twins. That
is good.
It's like
sisters, but not twins. That's
they're like. So anyway, that kind of how do you? I mean, I guess it's anybody's bet as to what's going to happen with the real estate market. I do think that there's a lot of people that are pent up. There are people that would have sold their homes by now and moved on to the next thing that maybe are tied to that lower rate, because I've looked at it too and I'm like, man, I would have to give up my 3,000 square foot house for like a 1,500 square foot house to have the same payment.
Right.
And then I'm like, that's not, at this point, I'd rather be a little uncomfortable where I am and deal with it until it becomes a favorable situation where I can upgrade. Even if I did go to a smaller home because our living situation has changed in terms of like number of children at the house and stuff, I think I would probably, I could downsize, but I'd like something nicer. Like I'd like to trade some space for a lake do you know what I mean? So anyway, so I think there's a lot of that. But I don't know at what point that break even is, right? That's going to move the needle, like for people like me, and other people. The only benefit that I see is that if you have a significantly lower interest rate, and I was talking to my brother about this because he had a 2.7, like I could kill myself for not having that. But he, like you are making substantial impacts to your principal every month.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the benefit is that you are gaining equity in your home a lot faster than somebody that has a 5 or 6% rate.
Right, because if you look at your amortization schedule, you're like,
Right.
those 30 pages they give you at closing.
Right. How much of it's actually going to principal versus, interest, when you have a higher rate, a bigger portion of it's going to, So anyway.
And on another note, just changing the subject for 1 minute, I am seeing or hearing from a lot of people that are really struggling with their mortgage. They may have started at $3,200, and now with the cost of insurance and
Right.
Especially
Taxes.
CDD going up, tax, which is part of your taxes, just the rate, everything's going up in the world. We know that inflation ever since COVID. But give me a call, have a conversation before you get behind your mortgage and stuff like that. I have had last week, I think I had 3 appointments, and they were all people that were actually walking away from their home. And
Right.
so we have a couple of good relationships with great attorneys, got them connected so they can advise them and whatnot. But I'm starting to see a little shift, especially having come from being the short sale queen way back when.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If
2008.
you don't know, like short sales were like this, that's actually when I came on board was
Yes.
to help with the short sales because there
Right.
were so many back in the 2010s, 2012s.
I know. I remember 1 year we did 63 of them.
Yeah.
And that was when, you called every bank and talked to them online.
Yeah.
Now we get the attorneys and titles involved, and
Yeah.
we just help with the situation. But please, just it's a phone call.
Yeah.
Everything's private. We don't talk about you to anyone else.
No.
Everything is always private. Give us a call.
Yeah. Well, that takes care of your August 2025 market report. Thank you so much for joining us. You can always find these reports on our website at corcoranconnect.com. Don't forget to check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can check us out online too.
Yep, you can check them out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn,
All the above.
all the above. You can't miss us. You just have to
Look.
look.
And if you have any questions, comments, you can give us a call at
1-844 St. Cloud, STCLOUD.
or send us an email at discoverstcloud@gmail.com. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode.